I want to go back to one of the older clips I posted on push-off. Some of you may have seen this as a strength or power drill. If so, that's not it at all. So let me clarify what I was actually coaching here. I haven't really asked athletes I work with what they actually think push-off is, so maybe that's something that I'll start doing so I get a better idea of, what their understanding is. Anyway, I usually go right into explaining it. So for those of you who are new, push-off is simply part of your gait cycle. It's the beginning of your step, whether you're walking or running. Doesn't matter which one you're doing. You're always going to start with the push-off. So most often when an athlete that I work with on the push-off, when they first do it, they lose their balance. Not because it's difficult, but because they're not quite used to slowing it down. They take their eyes off their visual target, or they tense up and forget to actually apply force. What I'm really looking for when I'm watching them perform the movement isn't effort, it's organization. If the body doesn't feel organized during that moment, it won't allow force to move cleanly through your system. That's why pushing harder doesn't usually help. It just adds to the noise, which makes it more frustrating and more discombobulating, which then makes it harder for your brain to understand what you're asking it to do for you, and therefore the movement becomes more difficult. So when I slow things down, when I give my athletes a reference point, or when I use a simple cue, what changes isn't strength, it's clarity. Now their brain has some more information and feedback. And once that happens and their body feels supported, force shows up without having to apply or use too much effort. And that is why push-off matters so much. If this movement isn't organized, everything that comes after has to compensate, such as knee drive, it becomes forced. Balance, it becomes inconsistent. And when you get into more dynamic work, running, cutting or changing direction, jumping, plyometrics, the movement starts to look loud instead of efficient. That's also why I always start here with the push-off. It isn't about being explosive. It's about whether the body feels organized enough to allow force to happen. As this series continues, I'll move into how the foot and subtalar mechanics shape this, and eventually how this shows up in your plyometric training. But none of that works well if this first piece isn't in place. So if you start seeing push-off this way, your training will change. And if you want help working through this in your own body, that's the work I do. Now, if this way of breaking things down is helpful, subscribe to the channel. Every third Monday of the month, I'll be reasoning through the shorts I post and explaining what's actually being coached.